Hello and welcome to another episode of Caged In Presents Coppola Connections, as ever brought to you by the Breadcrumbs Collective and hosted by me, Petros Patsilivus. This is episode 37, and after scratching at the top of the barrel last week with The Godfather, we thought we'd have a little tinker around at the bottom of the barrel with this week's pick, the 1994 Rob Reiner film, North, starring Elijah Wood, Bruce Willis, and a whole host of other people. If you're new to this podcast, what we do over here is we watch every single film in the Coppola family's collective filmography to determine, are they the greatest film family of all time? Joining me this week is Josh Pappenheim, and if you're not listening to Josh's fantastic podcast, Truly Happily Maddison, you are missing out. We had a lot of fun in this chat. Sometimes it is good to talk about the trash of cinema. Sometimes it's nice to eat your vegetables, but sometimes it's nice to have a big old plate of shit that you can digest and try and work out what the fuck is going on. What happened to this stellar career that Rob Reiner was having up until that point? So, as is always the case with these films, we spoil this film bloody rotten. We talk about every single family that North goes to visit, all the ins and outs of his exploration whilst looking for a new family. This film is currently on YouTube, which you can watch for free, which may tell you something about the quality of the film. So with all of that out of the way, all that's left to do is to get emancipated from your parents, trot across the globe looking for a new family with a series of deeply problematic sketches of different cultures as we make some Coppola connections. Hello. Before we jump into this episode, I just wanted to say a quick little thing about Bruce Willis. Obviously, he's one of the stars of this film, and there's been the tragic news that he is giving up acting. I guess that is tragic. Bruce Willis has been a massive part of my life, and I imagine many of your lives in the films he's been in throughout the years. And I know that even despite my feelings on a film like North, Bruce was a big part of my life for that. And yeah, those of you who may not know, Bruce Willis has decided to step away from acting because he suffers with a condition called aphasia, which is like a kind of debilitating illness that can kind of really make you suffer when it comes to kind of speech and language and stuff like that. So obviously something that acting uses a lot of, and decided to step away from it. And it's a sad time in acting. I know there's a lot of jokes been made, and I've made them myself, about Bruce's choices in the last, 10 years or so, I guess. Yeah, I've said on this podcast, like 2012 was the last time Bruce Willis made a decent film. And I now's not the time to talk about like some of the people who kind of gained from Bruce Willis's deteriorating health. I do think that discussion needs to be had at some point. Maybe I'm not the person to have it, and maybe this isn't the platform to have it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of directors and stuff like that that have very much profited off of what has happened to Bruce Willis's health. And just wanted to say that obviously this episode was recorded way before we knew any of that news, and I don't think we do say anything disparaging about Bruce Willis, and it's probably just the choices he made in 1994. Nothing really now. And obviously, my love always goes out to my boy Bruce. He's he's always been there as one of my favorites. Every year near Christmas, I watch Die Hard, and it says, as a balding man as well, Bruce Willis is someone that I've looked up to for the last, 5, maybe longer. I looked up to him longer than that, but especially as I started to go balding, I'm like, oh yeah, what stage of Willis's career am I at right now with my balding? And Bruce has always looked cool with it, so I guess I can be cool too. Yeah, I just wanted to say a little something up front, but enjoy the episode. It's a lot of fun, and we love you, Bruce. This week, we're looking at Rob Reiner's 1994 comedy drama adventure film, North, written by Andrew Scheinman, based on the novel North, the tale of a 9-year-old boy who becomes a free agent and travels the world in search of the perfect parent, by Alan Zweibel. The film stars Elijah Wood, Bruce Willis, Dan Aykroyd, Alan Arkin, John Lovitz, Jason Alexander, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and today's Coppola connection as reporter in a blink and you'll miss it performance. It is, of course, Mark Coppola. Who didn't spot Mark Coppola in this film? To join me to see if this childhood favorite film has aged like a fine wine and helps to mark the Coppolas the greatest film family of all time, or if, like North, we should be looking for a new family to call our own, is one half of Truly Happily Maddison, a man who's used to the dregs of Adam Sandler's production company. It is, of course, Josh Pappenheim. How are you, Josh?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad to be swapping yet again one load of shit films for what could be quite a good film. I guess we'll have to find out. But I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me on to talk about, as you said, a childhood fave.
Yes, and just to give people, it might give them a hint as to how this conversation is going to go about this film. You tweeted out maybe half hour before jumping on this record, hell has a direction and it's north. So
yeah, I think that's about right, isn't it? Well, yeah, spoilers for anyone who saw that tweet, but just gotta live your truth.
Well, before we get into lambasting this movie and giving it a right old kicking, tell us a little bit about Truly Happily Maddison. What's it all about?
Oh, hi. Yeah, Truly Happily Maddison is a podcast that myself and my incredible co-host Jack Gregson where are my words gone? that we present. However, we're on a bit of hiatus at the moment because our original plan was to watch all of the Happy Maddison films. For those of you at home who don't know, that's all the films produced by Adam Sandler's production company. So, including such amazing films as Rain Over Me. I was about to say Rain of Fire. It's amazing how much all of this knowledge has just immediately gone out my head. Anyway, The House Bunny, Paul Blart Mall Cop 1 and 2, Grown Ups 1 and 2, and most recently Home Team or Home Run. I've even forgotten the name of that. That was like a month ago. But yeah, we finished that up. Although Hustle is coming out quite soon on Netflix. And we're currently looking into what our second season is going to be.
Perfect. I know that Jack, when he was on, teased by saying people would be tickled pink by that second season. So yeah, I look forward to finding out what that is. So I always like to ask my guests, Josh, when they first come on, let's find out about your Coppola credentials. And first question I always ask is, how did you become aware of the Coppola family? Like, what was your entry point, if that be an actor? But when did you kind of find out as well that there's like a whole hive of them, basically?
I think I found out about them in the way that any self-respecting teenager in the noughties found out about them, which is that I was a huge fan of the OC and the teen comedy drama, and I loved the theme song, the California song. And I remember once, just like, I think it must have been early days of the internet, looking up that song and finding out, hey, a guy called Jason Schwartzman is the drummer on that song. That's weird. And then I was like, that's the same name as this actor. And then this actor that was in, I can't even remember what I would have seen him in at that point. But anyway, I was like, oh, cool. And then found out that he was the brother of, what's the name of it? Robert Schwartzman, who's the lead singer of Rooney, who were in the OC performing. So I was like, okay, that's weird. That's funny. They're very talented guys. And then I looked in further. I was like, wait, they're related to the guy who directed The Godfather. And then I was like, wait, the guy who directed The Godfather is related to Nicolas Cage. And then like it all just kind of like, you know, it was like a really bad cop drama where you pull on one thread and like it all comes falling down.
Yeah.
And you just realize these people are they are film.
Yeah.
Like they're cinema at this point.
I often say that like what people can't see, because obviously this is an audio format, but in front of me on the wall, you can't see this, but there's just a kind of a cork board with a load of string and pictures of this kind of family and how they all weirdly intersect in this weird way.
Yeah, you got the murder wall.
Yeah, that's it. I'm very much Charlie from that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the it's gotta be this, it's gotta be this. That's what, that is very much how I feel doing this podcast. That's really interesting. You're saying that Jason and Robert were your kind of entry points. Like filmically, what do you think would have been your earliest kind of exposure to a Coppola family member?
Honestly, I think it's this. If we're counting this in terms of like, you know, I know you mentioned earlier, like blink and you'll miss it. Like, and we were talking earlier off mic about like how if we didn't know the name, like what character this actor is playing, Mark, like how would you even know? There's no one in it who looks like, oh, that's definitely a guy. That's definitely a Coppola. Like,
Yeah.
It's very tenuous, but it would be this. It would be this film. Absolutely. Like, you know, kind of the same as like, I mean, films like The Godfather, I didn't see until I was much older, but like it pervaded every bit of culture. Like, you know, The Simpsons has like a piss take. That would have probably been like any TV show at some point does like a Godfather piss take, or like I love the smell of X in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Like for Apocalypse Now, like everyone, like all these films are just so iconic. It's like I feel like I grew up with them having never seen them, and then when I finally did see them, I was like, oh fuck yeah.
That's where that moment comes from. That's where that moment comes from. I guess it's very much now like watching films and finding out that's where like those the kind of reaction memes come, like reaction gifs come from on Twitter and stuff like that. You're like, oh, that's where that comes from. I had it last year and talking about For the Dark World, and there's that moment where you see Loki looking really pristine, and then like he lets the guys down and he's looking like shit, and I was like, I think the best thing to come out of that film was like a meme that was like March 2020 versus March 2021, where it was like we've all fallen to shit. No, that's looking back on it, it's either this or Jack, possibly for me. In an early, and especially Francis Ford Coppola. It's like obviously you mentioned some of the classics there, but yeah, when I look back, I'm like the first Francis Ford Coppola film I possibly would have seen would have been a film about all I remember from it as well. Like now, having not rewatched it in a while, is kids farting in a tin and passing it around and then someone having to smell it. That's like the lasting memory I have of Jack.
I think I tried watching that a few years ago, like not in the 90s, not in the noughties, not in the 10s, like maybe last year in lockdown, and got 5 minutes through and I was like, I cannot, like I love Robin Williams, but I just can't. I can't watch him going around pretending to be a child. I can't do this. So good on you enduring that, and then being like, however many years later, being like, podcasts all about this family, all about this guy who did this.
So Josh, I want to know, have you ever Have you ever met a Coppola? And like this could be tenuous. Have you ever been at like a Q&A with one of them? Have you ever seen Rooney play? Have you ever seen Phantom Planet perform at all?
No. No, it's the no. Um yeah, it feels like I really should have, because I used to work in a long time ago, I used to work in like film publicity and doing social media and going along to premieres and, interviewing people and doing junkets and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know how, but like, I just never got a Nick Cage film, which I really thought I would have. The others, Jason Schwartzman, maybe I could have had, like, but I think just during the time, which was maybe like 2014 to 2017, that's the kind of period where Nick isn't really making much quality.
Yes. Yeah, not that's getting premieres, at least. Do you know what I mean?
Not that's getting premieres.
It just goes straight to an Asda bargain bin.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. I really left that quality hanging there because he was making a lot. He was making a lot of films, but just nothing that any publicity would, like, there wouldn't be any publicity campaign around. And I guess Jason Schwartzman at that time is almost like exclusively doing Wes Anderson films.
Yes. Yeah.
And
a lot of TV and kind of, as I've learned, a lot of indie films that are interesting. And yeah, Jason Schwartzman's kind of, I don't know, putting his neck out there as being possibly one of the more interesting members of the family. Not that anyone can surpass Nick in that kind of being an absolute gonzo maniac of a family member. I don't really know how to ask this next question because, well, I think we already know the answer, and I imagine nobody's really looking out for Mark Coppola roles in films. But I think we're safe to say that that North is the one and only Mark Coppola film you've ever seen, Josh.
I would say yes. I would absolutely say yes. But I do like, yeah, that's my gut instinct. But now I'm like, will there have been anything else? No, I feel like not, because I'd say this is one of the first films I remember seeing. Like, absolutely down there. Because, I'm born 1989. I'm 5 when this film comes out? 6 when I'm able to rent it. Like, yeah, I don't really remember anything before this point. So, yeah, I mean, this could be my first Mark Coppola film. This could be my first film. You never know. I don't remember.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Well, let's talk about that film, but but before we do, let's have a little listen to the trailer.
Ask me about jeans, please. I grew up on jeans.
From Rob Reiner
Pants. That's
comes
how I
a new
know.
comedy about a kid named North.
The one thing that we cannot control in this life is who our parents are. You felt the hand, you're stuck with it.
You need new parents and you need them now. You got a lawyer?
Let's get cracking.
I rule in favor of the plaintiff.
Yes!
There wasn't either plan, let my people go.
Hey, that's a court of law. However, if he is not physically in the arms of either his new parents or his original parents by noon on Labor Day, he will be remanded to an orphanage.
Who are you?
I'm North.
See your name on maps. Very impressive.
Now he's setting out across the globe in search of parents who are generous.
Everything I own's the biggest and the best. That's why we'd like you to become our son.
Have you ever been an Easter Bunny?
Easter Bunny.
Parents who will educate him.
Tuma farahi sana umafik. I lived here. Not sure I get much homework done.
Parents who will respect him.
Our son, North!
What is that?
Parents who are warm.
Here you go, North. Our steak dish, Eskimo pie.
Hey, That's you.
No, it's not.
Parents who have style.
Give him the emperor cut.
Parents who have taste. Parents who have old-fashioned values.
Hang in there, kid. You'll find what you're looking for.
But his real parents aren't taking this lying down.
But I thought you looked familiar.
Of course I look familiar. I'm almost famous.
Elijah Wood, Dan Aykroyd, Reba McEntire, Kathy Bates, Graham Greene, Alan Arkin, Kelly McGillis, Alexander Goodenow, John Lovitz, Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis.
What are you? Some kind of guardian angel?
An Easter bunny.
North.
So, this film was released in the UK on July 29th, 1994, with a budget of 40 to 50 million. I guess they're kind of out on that. Maybe Rob Reiner kept that a secret, and only grossed $12 million. So not a tidy return for this film. So
No.
you mentioned, Josh, that this possibly was the first film you ever saw. What were your memories of it growing up?
I fucking loved it when I was a kid. Like, I loved this film. When I was growing up in a small town called Lewes down near Brighton, I used to live around the corner from a little, like, local independent video store. And it was the kind of place where, like, after the age of, I don't know, like 5 or 6, I could just walk there on my own and get anything I wanted.
Nice.
If I had like £1. And they used to occasionally sell off videos. And I think I remembered renting this and then renting it so many times that I eventually bought it. Like after spending like probably 20 quid on like renting it over various weeks, and then like £1 to buy it. And I remember watching it over and over again. Like, we'll get into it later, but I had no memory really of what happened in this film other than like the main premise. Like, I didn't remember any of the parents and I didn't watch the trailer before watching it again. But everything that happened in it, like every scene, was like a waking deja vu moment of like, I know I live this. Like, I know exactly, like, I remember that weird sound effect of a guy laughing during the bit where he's with the Parisian parents. And I remember that entire, like, I remember doing it. And I remember at some point my parents pissing me off and me delivering, I've got it written down. It's a bit where the main antagonist of the film, Winchell, I think that's his name, I can't remember, but he says something along the lines of like, just because you were born 20 to 30 years earlier than me doesn't make you smart, doesn't make you right, it just makes you old. And I remember shouting that at my parents at some point. I remember word for word.
Wow.
So like, this film had like a huge impact on me.
That's a perfect child rebellion right there to quote this film verbatim. Especially that's quite that's quite a biting thing to say, and it's a very, that whole subplot we'll get into because it's fucking bananas.
It's insane.
So
it's insane.
Before we pick this one apart, I always like to ask my guests to kind of tell us what the film is about. So yeah, can you give us a brief synopsis of North, Josh?
Yes, I can. Here's one I prepared earlier. Elijah Wood decides he hates his parents for reasons, so in a Macaulay Culkin-inspired move, decides to divorce them and find an even better family who appreciates him. He meets a wacky cavalcade of characters along the way, including a mysterious man initially dressed up as a bunny, who may or may not be both Bruce Willis and a guardian angel. Apparently, one of the worst films of all time. Can we confirm?
There's a lot of sticky points on this because I guess Should we talk about the problematic stuff up the front of this chat, or bury the lead on that one? I guess we probably should.
Well, I think
right?
we've teased it now.
We teased it. Yeah, let's not bury the. Yeah,
This
obviously,
is-
with that premise, especially with the kind of globe trotting aspect of it, going to all of these like far flung locations, it is just a kind of excuse for the screenwriters, and I imagine it's in the novel as well. And I imagine it can have a bit more nuance in the novel, at least, and kind of have a bit more like there's not
Yeah.
issues in regards to casting, and like obviously the amount of screen time that these different families get. They just really have to paint a picture as quick as possible, but the way they do that is just relying on lazy is probably a light way of saying racist stereotypes that kind of, it starts off kind of harmless, poking fun at like Texans, and then kind of
yeah.
like, if you're offended by that, it's like, well, hold on to your fucking pants, because it's about to get a lot fucking worse.
This is about to be you're about to enter a nightmare world of just like just like the worst, like fucking Bernard Manning, fucking racist shit. Like anything you could have read in like a Wikipedia book. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's horrible. And it's one of those things that, you know, obviously I've just said, I used to watch this film all the time and I loved it and I thought it was amazing. Like, looking at it now, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I'm amazed this hasn't done any like lasting damage, because it's hideous. Like, where do they go? Texas,
Hawaii,
the country, Hawaii, yeah, extremely bad.
Alaska, which is really bad, because
really, really bad.
They cast Kathy Bates as an Inuit woman, and then they cast who is
he? Tessio.
Tessio from The Godfather, yeah, as the grandfather, like again, and they're all named. They refer to themselves as Eskimos. They're like, here's our local delicacy, which is Eskimo pie, which I believe is like a kind of American like sweet dish or something like that. I don't know. It's maybe like a chocolate pie. I'm sure there's American listeners
It's like a meringue thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe, or maybe not.
And then where else? China, Africa. I'm just listing places now. We could dive into them a bit more. France, the Amish community at one point. And then it's like, I think the final family is just like all American, white picket fence, John Ritter as the dad, and Scarlett Johansson as the younger sister. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So like, yeah, like a beautiful nuclear family, but all
Just
the stuff in
white
between
America,
that is just fucking absolutely, I don't know, like skin crawlingly awful in its kind of representation of those cultures.
Like, absolutely, it's hideous. And that's such a good point about the screen time you were talking about, because it's kind of like the weighting that they give to the families in terms of time. Like, you know, you got Texas, which is like, that's a good 5-10 minutes. Alaska's 5-10 minutes. And then it reaches a point of like, China, we will give you 1 minute and you have to tell the most racist story you can. And then where they go, Democratic Republic of Congo. Yes. And then the most racist 45 seconds I've ever seen. And then just like,
well,
and then France, which is like, I didn't even know that was a stereotype, but fine, we'll go with it. Like
the France section is just like, it is that kind of, and I think what makes it appealing to children is just that thing of like, it's so cartoonish in its racism that like, it's kind of like, you just like, it goes over your head in a way. And it's like, imagine, and I think it's like, it's got to be said, it's really fucking bizarre for Rob Reiner as well. So this
Yeah.
is Rob Reiner coming off of possibly like one of the like best run of films ever, like in regards
Yeah,
to
I remember.
his output.
Yeah, I remember talking with Jack about this on Truly Happily Maddison. I can't remember why. There was some film, but he was involved, maybe, or he was in it, something. Anyway, yeah, I remember it being like, what is it? It's like When Harry Met Sally.
So it starts off with, it depends how you look at it, but like, yeah, there's Spinal Tap, The Sure Thing, and then it's Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, A Few Good Men, and then North.
The career killer.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's hideous. Like, what did he see in the script and was like, yes.
That's what
This is what the world needs. This is the next story my soul needs to tell. Like, fuck this. Fuck.
So let's talk about some of the elements you did enjoy. Is there any kind of things? Especially, I remember, like even now, I really like the kind of opening to this film with the kind of all of the snow globes and stuff like that. It's kind of, I was like you saying about that kind of lived in memory. I just found myself transported to, because yeah, you watch this in the same way that I did in a 8-part YouTube for free version that somebody's uploaded, which is in the same ratio as like a VHS as well, and like looks like a VHS rip almost. Like, it's terrible quality. But I just felt like I was
140p.
I felt like I was watching like a VHS tape again, and I was kind of like, this is really transporting me back. Like I don't know. Yeah, like and I was like, oh, this is good. And then I pulled a clip of just kind of the juxtaposition. This is basically me waking up now to the fact of like, oh, we're not in for a good time. And it's kind of, you go from this, yeah. I think this clip speaks for itself.
You want to know how to build a rocket and send a man into outer space? Don't come to me.
Don't even ask me about it.
For
You
someone
don't
to
want to
perform
know.
a delicate brain operation, I'm not your
I
man.
don't want to talk about it.
If, on the other hand, you have any questions whatsoever regarding the quality of a fine pair of pants, look
Just
no
thinking
further.
about it, I'm getting a
Pants, that's what I know. I know pants, all kinds of
I
pants.
had a day. Let me tell you something.
So then he says to me, oh yeah, what about
Except it
chinos?
was for those-
So yeah, we go from this kind of lush kind of score to basically like this oppressive Jason Alexander and Julia Louis-Dreyfus just moaning about, and it's like I was like, oh fuck, we're not in for a good time, are we?
This isn't gonna be good. It's also, yeah, obviously something that completely went over my head as a kid is they just went like, oh yeah, Seinfeld's popular. Like, fuck this. Like, we'll just put them together.
Yeah.
Like, and also like how intensely like Jewish that first bit is as well, of just like kvetching over a dinner table. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the character of North as well is just like, he's like he's so neurotic about everything. Like you don't, yeah, and I guess he is supposed to, he's almost like played like he's a Jewish kid, right? Because you get the whole thing that he's like the lead in Fiddler on the Roof as well. Like he's there kind of like, where's a rich man? Like he's doing all that on stage, and you kind of get that thing of this amazing year he had and what like a kind of great kid he is. But yeah, it's very bizarre in the way that it kind of opens up, and then it's to jump into another clip. I just want like to get this out of the way. The Bruce Willis voiceover we get in this film.
North was positive he was having a coronary.
I said, do you know who I am?
Now, as a rule, 11-year-olds don't experience cardiac events.
Well, in case you forgot, let me remind you who I am.
But for North, this was a very stressful time.
I'm number 6!
Yes, North was having a difficult time with his folks. And it was putting a damper on what was, in all other respects, a very successful life. How successful? Well, look at the year he'd had.
I again intensely remember being like, oh, I understand that feeling. That's like when I go around to my North London family's house at Christmas and they all fucking argue over the dinner table, like, and having that feeling of like, oh, cool. I know what it is to have a panic disorder age 6. You know, like, it's deep in there.
What is it you think that might be like appealing to a kid about this film? Because like obviously like it kind of fits in the mold, and I guess there's like films, I guess like Home Alone and Richie Rich, like just listing Macaulay Culkin.
Richie Rich, another film I loved when I was a kid. Like,
but they're all this kind of idea of a child, like kind of fantasy, right? What is it? Do you think that appeals to you and possibly to me as well? Kind of loving this film as a kid. What do you think the appeal is of North?
I think it's like it's weird, isn't it? Because I feel like you still kind of get these kinds of films, but you know, they're kind of like YA films, you know, where like a kid becomes autonomous, but they go on like an adventure, or they, you know, they have like a special calling and save the world, etc. Whereas at this point in time, it feels like, yeah, you got Home Alone, North, Richie Rich, and like Blank Check.
Yes, that's fucking hell, that's a shout. Blank Check. Yeah.
Another film I loved when I was a kid. But like all these films where it's just like these kids, they don't go on wild adventures. Like I guess North kind of does, but like not really. It's just like they just sort of become celebrities, and they just become like the kid who is Richie Rich in this film, like Winchell again. He like his fantasy is he becomes Richie Rich. Like all these kids are just becoming like these business people, or like fully autonomous. They don't need parents. They're really, you know, they're wisecracking, and it's kind of like that kind of like attitude era of like Gen X 90s MTV generation. I'm just using a load of fucking buzzwords. But you know what I mean? Like it's that kind of, it's that weird nebulous time of being like, parents suck. Like we're kids. Like it's Bart Simpsonification. Like, I don't know.
What I find
It's
bizarre
strange.
about this film, and I guess it is to that Winchell subplot, is this kind of like, it's dystopian, right? This kind of world
Super
that Winchell
dystopian.
is trying to create, in which parents are subservient to children, and it's like the imagery that's used as well. There's like a moment they kind of, without his knowing it, they like Viva la Norte, that is their kind of slogan, which I guess like Viva North, like, and then like they have like massive, there's like almost like allusions to Citizen Kane at one point, where Winchell's like giving a speech, and there's this massive picture of North behind him, and he's got this, his like kind of lackey partner in crime in all of it is this like ambulance chaser lawyer played by John Lovitz, of all people, who, let's be honest, is perfectly cast as this kind of like
Perfect.
absolute, I don't know, cretin of a man who will happily like become business bedfellows with a fucking 11-year-old boy.
Yeah, it's all very good. Yeah, you're right. It is very dystopian and depressing. Of like, this is the, you know, like talking about those YA films that come later, where it's kind of like you want to save the world and you want to make places better, and you know, Hunger Games, etc. Like Escape to a Fantasy World. Whereas all these films are kind of like, what's your fantasy? My fantasy is to just be like rich and powerful, I guess, and to kind of be Donald Trumpy and to like extort people. It's very strange. It's a very strange time.
And in the third act of this, it takes like a noirish tone as well that I'm sure we'll dive deeper into. Like we'll have a big chat about that, because that's a bizarre kind of shift in it. So, like, yeah, back to the stuff we enjoy. I kind of do enjoy like the early stages of this. Like, I think I really like that speech we get from the voiceover, even though the voiceover is kind of really fucking lackluster. It feels like Bruce Willis didn't want to do it at all. But just the description we get of the like having your like secret spot, I really like that kind of like imagery and that idea
Yeah.
of like when he says, well, to the unknowing eye, basically, he just looks like another kid waiting for his parents as he sits in this armchair as they do their Easter shopping and stuff like that. And then it just kind of gets a weird turn from then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's explained later why it takes such a weird fucking turn at that point. But
Well,
yeah,
watching it back this time, did you kind of like? It's obviously got the imagery from that moment when they have that discussion that it is a dream sequence. Like you kind of like, I've got a clip of like, I'm not sure if it has sound effects on it to thingy, but like the visual imagery is kind of like goes all blurry. That kind of like every time there is a dream sequence in anything, like. But
I didn't spot that probably because of the absolute low quality of this, of the way we watch this. I was like, okay, it's just blurred a little bit. Fine, got you.
Yeah, so the tone of the film is kind of it is slightly heightened, but this gives you a thingy of how heightened the film becomes after that moment.
Free agency. What a scoop! A kid becoming a free agent, then going around offering his services as a devoted son to the highest bidding set of parents. It's brilliant, North! Mwah! Simply brilliant! Look, this still isn't for sure yet, you know? This could be my Watergate. Winchell, you put out a 2-page leaflet with a circulation of 90. Might even land me a Pulitzer. Hey, I told you this idea because you're my friend, not because you're editor of the school newspaper. I'm a journalist, North. So? You never said this conversation was off the record. Winchell, I need time to think. All right. I'll hold the story. But North, a few more displays like that Panther game, and some of the more attractive parents might start doing some thinking of their own. The damn Panther game. And North, the geography test we took today.
I guess the film as well, like from that moment, becomes like this kind of like the way they speak is like this kind of 40s, like that moment is very like. Do you know what I mean? Like the way that North speaks, where he's like, that Panthers game. It's like that damn Panthers game. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
The way Winchell's talking, he's like, this could be my Watergate. He's like, maybe I get a Pulitzer, and he's like this real like kind of. I don't know, like little newspaper man. And what one thing I don't quite understand is why are they friends? Because like Winchell from the get-go seems like an absolute dickhead.
Yeah, but like, does Winchell exist?
Oh, that's a.
These are all these questions that are now like, you know, because you mentioned the film noir bit, like. And he chats with, what's the name of the guy? Adam? Yes. Adam, he meets him under a bridge or something. I'm like, I don't remember him before the dream sequence. Is he real? But like Winchell, I have no idea if he's real. Or like John Lovitz, is he real?
I think the thing is, Winchell is mentioned before.
Oh, is he?
In a negative light, because he's like, like, you didn't even listen to me when I told you about what Winchell did to me today. So it's like, he's obviously done something negative to North. So like, why is like now in his fantasy, Winchell's like his best friend when he's like, yeah, he's an absolute little arsehole. Like he's a real like,
yeah.
I don't condone like kind of hitting children, but Winchell is one that I would love to give a fucking clout. Do you know what I mean? Just flip around the edge. But come on, mate. You're 11. Chill the fuck out.
Chill the fuck out. Stay away from those Pulitzers. Oh my god. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Awful. Like, I don't know who that kid's supposed to be. Yeah, you're right. Very good point of like, he is mentioned before. I did not pick up on that because I was like, Winchell, that's a weird name. Fine. Ignore it. But like,
He's
Nice. It would have
he's
been nice.
he's the antagonist
Sorry.
of this film, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like number one antagonist. Which is nice, I guess. He's kind of like, an opportunist. North is like, he's a good boy and all he wants is to be appreciated. But Winchell, it's all about financial gain and becoming president, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah,
Or making John Lovitz president.
and being like a sock puppet president, where it's like Winchell's like kind of in control, but like he's got John Lovitz as like the face of it, and it's like, and in this world that they're trying to create, like the logic of it doesn't work as well, because it's kind of like, as I said, like parents are subservient to their children, yet we see plenty of moments where like parents are kind of, or adults are out like enjoying themselves and like doing stuff that adults would do when it comes to the moment where there's like a kind of restaurant cabaret night and Bruce Willis is performing on stage. There's like a room full of adults and stuff like that, and you'd imagine in this kind of world that Winchell has created using North as the poster child, like all of these parents would be too scared, or all of these adults would be too like. There's a horror movie in this, right? Of the almost like Children of the Corn, like all the parents are like at home, frightened for their lives because they're controlled by these brats because they're worried that they're going to get emancipated.
That's a really good point that I didn't put together. But yeah, you're right. There wouldn't be anyone in that fucking theater, or it should have just been like exclusively old people, like people who are grown-up kids, or or it could have been an audience full of children, like sitting with, like I know it was, what was it, National Smoke Alarm Conference or whatever, but like it could have been the kids were like chaperoning the parents or something, but it just doesn't. And the scene where it's like, oh, I'm going to go to New York now, and it's like horrible. It's like the worst version of New York I've ever seen on like cinema.
Yeah, it's that scene from Home Alone when he realizes that New York's like once the kind of the sheen of New York is settled for Kevin McAllister, and he's like I think someone says to him, like, you don't want to go in the park at night, kid, or like he tries to get in a cab and he's like, it's terrible out there. He's like, it's not too much better in here, kid, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's like sex workers kind of going, you lost, little kid. Is that New York? Is that very much like?
It's that, yeah.
And
it's just horrible.
And then to add into that, what makes it really fucking bizarre is that Winchell has an assassin, like trailing North, which I find like something I didn't really remember. I really vividly remember the kind of bait and switch with the
cap.
Yeah, with the cap.
I remember that as well. Yeah, I remember borscht. Borscht is like thrown into my brain, and as soon as they said that word, I was like, "Oh God!" It all came running back. I remember asking my parents, "Can we have borscht?" and then being like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, and him being like, "Borscht is a beetroot soup, typically served chilled with a dollop of sour cream." I'm like, "Fuck, this is baked into my memory." All of this, I hate it.
Yeah, I just don't remember like feeling the gravity of that as a kid as well. Just thinking it was like a fun jape, where like watching it now as an adult, it's like, this is really fucking dark.
Yeah, they sent a fucking assassin. Like, and also how you kind of mentioned it earlier, like the film just fucking takes a complete tonal shift. I can't remember what's happening in the scene before, but suddenly it's just like cut to North running for his life, and Bruce Willis being like, North was running for his life, and it's just like, yeah, all right, I guess.
Well, it literally
Winchell has found.
It literally goes from Winchell saying like, I'm gonna send someone after him, to him like running. Yeah, with like a fucking like someone shooting at him, and it is terrifying. It's like, oh, it's kind of it's a very bizarre film and like the middle section, like with the kind of like going around the place, I think that's what I would have found fun as a kid. Just this kind of like travelogue, look at the world and stuff like that. But like as an adult, I'm like, this does not work for one. It's kind of like it's really episode. You don't like one. I don't care about any of the characters in this. I think
No.
North is possibly like a bit of an ungrateful little kid. Do you know what I mean? Like
He's a piece of shit. North is a fucking piece of shit.
Right.
Like,
elaborate. I want to hear all about this, Josh.
he's just, I hate him. Like, little overachieving fuck. And then he's just like, my parents don't take me seriously because I'm the best child. And like, and also all the other parents being like, well, North tidies his room. North gets straight A's or whatever. It's like, how is this kid not being... Everyone loves him in the school as well. All the other kids love him. Why are the kids not like fucking bullying him every day for just being like such a goody, just like...
Yeah.
Although he doesn't seem to be like lording it over people. But then he is also like, I'm the best kid and I need the best parents.
Yeah.
In like a low-key way. Like... Yeah,
And he's
I don't know.
He's super high maintenance as well, right? Like, like let's discuss the kind of the issues he has with the places that the parents he's kind of appointed to. So first of all, it's the Texan family, right? Like, what's
I
their
think
deal,
he's
Josh?
fair. He's fair, and he's fair to want to get out of that place because the Texans, they are oil rich. Dan Aykroyd and what's her name? Reba. She's a country singer, is all I know.
And she appears in The Little Rascals as the like I think as the announcer or like the announcer at the race at the end as well. Like she's very distinctive and gets a song. So before we dive into the Texans and the issues North has with them, let's hear a little bit of them.
Oh shit,
Yeah, but now we'd like to show you how much we're looking forward to having you as our new son. Ready, Paul?
Ready, Ma?
We had a son who was trampled by a ton of longhorns, but you're here cutes to fill his boots as flat as they may be.
You'll yell yippee-i-o at the rodeo till the day's done.
Then you'll make a lot of pals with buffalo gals.
Just leave some for me.
Hey there!
We'll barbecue steaks and stew, feed you pumpkin pie, till your can's bigger than the big old Texan sky.
You'll grow tall and play football, be famous.
You'll grow more on a chain of stores, marry Betty Lou.
Oh, North,
Another rib, son?
So that is Reba McEntire who plays Martex.
Reba McEntire.
Yeah. So what's his beef? What's his beef with the Texans, Josh?
What's his beef? His beef is that Partex loves everything to be the biggest and best that it can be. So he's like, you're the best kid. Now I'm going to make you the biggest. So I'm going to feed you. I'm going to feed you until you become morbidly obese. It's so strange. And the fact that their previous child, they made him so obese that he couldn't escape from a stampede, or that's what it's hinted. It's so weird. Also, when they started playing that song, I was like, oh, again, another thing that's absolutely just like lodged solid in my head, in my brain, is that fucking song. And how much it also, I remember being like, why is my favorite song in South Park the What Would Brian Boitano Do song? And it sounds exactly the fucking same. They're basically the same fucking song. But yeah, so that, I guess that's his beef, is that he doesn't want to die. Which, like, fair enough.
Yeah, and like it gets kind of like quite existential because he's like, I don't want to live in the shadow of like a son you've
Mm.
already had and stuff like that. And obviously each kind of like well, at least for the longer sequences when he's visiting these families, they're punctuated by these encounters with another Bruce Willis playing like a kind of tertiary character. This time he played Gabby, kind of farmhand, who he just has like a kind of debrief and goes like gives him a pearl of wisdom where it'll be like, yeah, that's a real tough bind you got yourself in there, kid. You don't want to be living in the shadow of no man. And I'm giving Bruce Willis that accent. He does not put on.
He does not do, no.
He plays the whole film as Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the beef with the second family, the Hoes, the governor and governess, I guess, of Hawaii.
He, he, he doesn't want his image to be used on a billboard in which his butt is repeatedly exposed for reasons that are like, Hawaii is sad. Hawaii has a chip on its shoulder because people go there on holiday and it's not taken seriously.
They have a chip on their shoulder that at any given opportunity, Adam Sandler will film a film there.
he will bring his entire fucking family over and just Jesus Christ, God, that's so true. Yeah, like maybe that, they failed with getting north, so they just employed Adam Sandler as like their de facto tourism board. Like fucking hell.
I pulled a clip from the Hose just because I found it very this is another kind of bizarre thing to say in a kid's movie.
You wouldn't happen to have a dead kid whose shoes you want me to fill, would you? Dead kid?
North, Hawaii is a lush and fertile land. In fact, there's only one barren area on all of our islands. Unfortunately, it's Mrs. Home.
I wrote that down, just being like, what the fuck is that line? Like,
it's something that would have totally gone over my head as a kid. Like the fact that like, I would have had no idea what like being barren would have meant. But like obviously as an adult, you're like, so they're talking about Mrs. Ho being infertile in a kids movie like that. Like it's so bizarre.
Also, it's like, you know, I get it. Kids' films have jokes for the adults in it too, for the parents. Yeah, fine. But that one is just like, it's not funny. And it's like, it's played like a joke. And it's just...
It's quite bleak.
It's bleak. It doesn't work on any level it's pitched. Like, it doesn't work for kids. It doesn't work for adults. It's just sad, but is like... Yeah, it's a real failure. There are a few moments like that. Like another bit that I remember is John Lovitz and Winchell are having like a massage, and someone brings in like they go, "Oh, Diet Coke for you and a sex on the beach for you," and he's like, "Aren't I naughty?" And it's like,
no,
who is that for? Like. This film is for kids younger that kind of have, you know, they probably don't have the concept of what sex, let alone sex on the beach is.
And
adults are just like, what?
Yeah. So carrying on our beef train, what is his issue with the Inuit family that he goes to stay with? I think this is another. Well, let's talk about that kind of. Because I think this is probably the start of it being deeply, deeply problematic in regards to representation, right?
Yeah. This is when it goes bad. Like, all starts going, you start getting an inkling. Because, yeah, for a while, again, watching it in such low quality, I was like, who is that playing the what? Is that Kathy Bates?
Browned up as well. She's like...
Browned up.
And then, like, just the whole thing of, what is it? Like, just like, yeah, their ultimate pastime is to do ice fishing in the middle of their lounge, which has like, okay. the aforementioned Eskimo pie, and then just kind of, I guess, being like deeply insensitive to Inuit traditions as well in regards to, I guess it's like an elder rite of passage similar to, is it the Herger in Midsummer?
Yeah.
Once
The big midsummer hammer.
yeah, once once the elders are over the hill, they are put out to pasture. In this case, on an iceberg that is equipped with a lazy boy chair and a TV.
Yeah. And like a ticket system, and yeah. It's hideous. Like, this whole section is hideous. And also one that even after watching it, like, you know, you saying like, what's his beef here? I'm like, I don't remember. Like, all I remember about this bit is me being like, is that Kathy Bates? Is that Tessio? This is all horrible. And that's all I took away from it. I don't remember any. It's like I have some sort of psychic damage, or I've taken some sort of psychic damage from it.
Well, I think his beef is he morally objects to the elders being like kind of like taken out of the community, and like it basically he just has a fundamental issue with the traditions of the Inuit people. And then that sequence as well has like a real, like, you're talking about like jokes that don't work. It has like a real, again, it feels, I don't know, not, it feels lazy one in regards to writing, but then yeah, like it feels offensive. I'm not sure if it is just the whole thing about like, oh, you've like been walking for 7 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like, when it's, I don't. This is it. I think it's just like the whole section has been offensive. It's like, this feels weirdly offensive too. When it's like, yes, but like just like yeah, I think kind of rationalizing it as I'm speaking and thinking, it's like that thing of, oh, aren't these people weird that they live in this place where it's daylight for like 8 weeks and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like, and just North's reaction is like, oh, I wondered why we stopped for lunch 29 times or something like that. And like, it's just like, oh, fuck off, you little shit.
I know. It's like, yeah. It only gets better. North's racial sensitivity and cultural sensitivity.
So yeah, where's he go next, and what's his beef there? Is it the Amish people next? Amish community, where he literally touches down, doesn't he? And then
touches down, and then they're like, these are our 3 children. Ezekiel. Is it Ezekiel or is it Elijah? It's one of them, either of those. And then these are our 3 children who are called Art. And then North's just like, nah, I like technology. Goodbye.
And then
that's it. Done.
Did you say is it?
I think it's China, and then
yes.
Yeah, China first, which is horrible. It's horrible. He sat up there. Yeah, in sort of traditional royal garb, right? Like imperial China garb. And then they're all like praising him. And then his issue is that he doesn't want to have a haircut, which is being given from, again, an extremely racist like menu of haircuts.
Yeah.
Or hairstyles.
Yeah.
And that's where he draws the line.
It's like a bald with a ponytail, right? And it's like, give him the emperor cut. And it's like, what are you going on? Like, what? Like, and again, that is supposed to be played as a joke, right? Where it's supposed to be like, oh, aren't these cultures weird?
Oh, I think you've dropped out. So I think you dropped out a second there.
Josh. Yeah. Yeah, just said like the joke is supposed to be, aren't these cultures weird? Where does he move to? Yeah, from China he moves to the Democratic.
China, he goes to Democratic Republic of Congo. But as it's called in this, because of the time, I guess, it's Zaire. But... and he's... I don't even want to talk about it. Like, it's so bad. It's just like... He just goes into the middle of a jungle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just topless people. And then he stares at his new mum's boobs and goes, I wouldn't be able to get much work done. And then that's it.
Cut scene. Move on to the
Cut
next scene.
scene.
And then...
Like...
and then he goes to the
hate it.
Nelsons, right? The all-American...
He's got Paris in between, I think.
Oh, yes.
Paris is there somewhere.
Yes, it is Paris.
With the stupid, like, he watches all they're doing is watching TV and it's comedy and they're smoking at him. And like, yeah, fine. Wasn't aware, as I said earlier, I think, like, wasn't aware this was a stereotype, but fine, I'll go with it. Like,
it's just so lazily painted and characterized, right? They're wearing berets, roller neck sweaters. They're kind of like, their apartment looks pretty cool. Like, do you know what I mean?
Does
like,
look nice.
Yeah. Like,
But where are the croissants and where's the, like, I don't know, adultery? Like, they haven't gone all the way.
Yeah, where's the
sad.
A baguette and like a load of garlic knocking about?
Yeah, exactly. They fucks it.
I'm sure in like the book, his issue would be like, they tried to get me to eat frogs' legs.
Absolutely. Snails.
Aren't the French people weird? Which is like, is basically like the message of this film. It's like, aren't foreigners weird?
Yeah, it really, like, yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, he only really goes to one family who's sort of in a similar social position, in a recognizably similar social position to his own family, which is the final family that he goes to. All the rest are kind of like, you know, the Texans are painted as sort of like out of town hicks.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is a racist caricature. And it, you know, it's like, and that family, the all-American WASP one, is the like upper middle class, like, oh, he's a pediatrician or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, he's so noble. And that's the only one that maybe he'll go for.
Yeah, and even that
because
you go.
No, you go on.
I was gonna say, even that one, it's like, even then, like, there's something not right about this. I need to be alone.
Yeah.
I pulled a clip of that family just because, one, like, it shows you, I don't know how they kind of dropped the ball on this one. But there's a line delivery from a very young Scarlett Johansson that makes no sense. It's got a blue wiggly line in my notes where I wrote this line down.
So great having you here, North. I've always wanted a brother to throw to. Yeah, and now I have two big brothers to look out for me.
Hey, I know we're all excited to have North as part of our family, but he hasn't decided if he wants to stay with us yet.
Come on, North, you gotta stay. Yeah, we very want you. Help your...
We very want you, is the line that she says. We very want you.
We very want you.
Which is like, did they not think to like go again? Say, hey, Scarlett, like, I know it's your first movie, but like, this $40 to $50 million being put into this. Like, we really want you to stay, is the line that's written on the paper, not we very want you. Unless it's supposed to be there to like mark, like, she's so cute, she can't even speak properly. But she looks about 8 years old. Like, she should be able to say,
fuck knows.
She should be saying, I very want you.
Maybe they were just like, that take was perfect for everything apart from this child, I suppose. But you know what? We spunked all the money on like that giant fucking limo that the Texans had. And now there's nothing else. Like, I was just thinking about the budget when you said what, it was 40 to 50 million.
Uh-huh.
Where is it?
I think it's in a lot of like people's pockets. Bruce Willis,
You
I
reckon?
reckon he cut a check. I reckon it's just. But then again, is there an element of like Rob Reiner just pulling in favors from like people he knows and like friends in regards to this film? Like, is there like go away, Siri? I don't want you right now. Yeah, is there an element of him just going, "Hey, Alan Arkin, be in this. Hey, this person." I don't know. I don't know what John Lovett's kind of like paycheck is like in 1994. He was also in Trapped in Paradise with Dana Carvey and Nicolas Cage this year. So, it's a big year for big Johnny Lovitz.
Big Johnny Lovitz.
Yeah. So
before he joins the Adam Sandler money train, like
that's it. Feels like a good jumping off point for me to ask you this, Josh. Do you feel like North is a film that is below Happy Maddison in any way? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, it feels like, especially in the portrayal of kind of other cultures, that they would embrace this film as a Happy Maddison production in a way.
I honestly could see it. I could absolutely see it. It wouldn't be the same in tone. I think you could take this exact plot and just make it like fucking Nick Swardson as like a man baby.
Yes, that's
like,
exactly
do
what
you know what I
thinking.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, and him just being like, I don't want to live with you. But he's like 20 and is divorcing it, or like 30 something, and he's divorcing his parents. And they're like, we don't want your son. And he's like, well, fuck you. I'm going to find a new family. And then goes around. Like, or it feels very Joe Dirty, actually, now that I think about it.
You would have,
like,
I reckon you'd have Rob Schneider playing the Inuit, like one of the Inuit people, like, like parents. I'm trying to think like things that Happy Maddison would throw into like a version of this. There would, for some reason,
Angry Animal Attack. Animal Attack.
I was gonna say
in every single place.
Somebody gets cummed on by like a bull in Texas or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
weird. Like, there's a weird thing with that. Like, it was like
Steve Buscemi does something weird. He could be in the New York section.
Yes,
in the park or something.
I think Steve Buscemi would. I'm trying to think who would Christopher Walken almost play his like Click role? Is Click like the closest to North? Right? Like,
yeah, I think it is actually. Yeah, yeah. Click has got to be it. Oh my god! Yeah, this is like a Click Joe Dirt hybrid. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about the twists in Click. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same. He's in a furniture store. Fuck. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it'd be Chris. Are you thinking Christopher Walken as Bruce Willis?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Would he crop up as or would it be maybe like a Happy Maddison mainstay? Do you know what I mean? Would it be like Kevin Nealon or someone like that? Not sure.
I reckon it would be, if we're talking, if this is a big mainline Happy Maddison film, I'm seeing Adam Sandler as the guardian angel.
Yes.
Or Chris Rock. Could be Chris Rock, actually. Adam Sandler playing both the mum and the dad of Nick Swardson. Texans, Kevin James and Salma Hayek. Eskimo, Rob Schneider.
Jackie Sandler.
And I reckon we've got to save Jackie for we save Jackie for the final family.
Yes, for the Nelsons.
And I can't remember her name. We talk about her all the time we did on Truly Happily Maddison, but like, she's in The House Bunny and she plays a character who just says Idaho over and over again. Oh no, she says it once, but we said it. What's her name? Sorry. Searched House Boney. That's not how you spell anything. I need to find her name. Anyway, I think she would be she's not really a mainstay, but she's in the background in a lot of them.
Yeah, try like they would just, and it is weird, isn't it, that like you would think that like moving forward, because I know at the time when North came out, like it was not reviewed well, like in America. The kind of big daddies of film criticism, Siskel and Ebert, like Roger Ebert wrote, "I hated this movie, hated this movie, hated it,
That was it,
hated every simpering, stupid, vacant, audience insulting moment of it, hated the sensibility that thought anyone would like it, hated the implied insult to the audience by its belief that anyone would be entertained by it." And yeah, him and Siskel kind of really gave it a fucking like beating when it came to like reviewing it on their show. They both listed it as their worst film of 1994 in their kind of year-end lists at the Roger Ebert at the Chicago Sun-Times and Gene Siskel at the Chicago Tribune. And this hit a good few end of year lists in worst. It was on the William Arnold Seattle Post Intelligentsia. It was on the Betsy Pickle Knoxville News Sentinel top 10 worst, and couple of dishonorable mentions from a couple of other papers, and was nominated for some awards. It's something we don't talk about normally on this podcast.
What awards?
So everybody's favorites. I know by the time this episode releases, they may have happened already, or they're about to happen. But the Golden Raspberries. Do you want to have a?
Oh, cool.
Do you have a little guess? Or it was nominated for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nominate like 6 categories. What? Do you want to have a guess at which categories they would have been?
What is it? There's one that's like worst on-screen pairing, right? Or worst.
It's not nominated for that. It's
no.
Should I tell you and you can guess who?
Oh, who
the nominees were? So worst actor. Who do you think was nominated for worst actor, Josh?
It's got to be either Elijah or Bruce, right? Like
it's Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis, yeah.
He was nominated, did not win. Worst supporting actor.
John Lovitz.
Dan Aykroyd was nominated.
Dan Aykroyd
again did not win. Worst
fair enough.
Supporting actress.
Kathy Bates.
Yeah, you know.
Was it?
Nominated, did not win. Worst screenplay. Obviously, we've mentioned those two. It's Andrew Scheinman and Alan Zweibel. So you reached out to Alan Zweibel a while ago, Josh, to ask him a question about this film. What is it? Why were you compelled to reach out to him? What did you say to Alan Zweibel?
You know what? Honestly, I can't remember why I reached out to him. I have a feeling that was on a night that I went and saw Jack, my Truly Happily Maddison co-presenter, years before we were making the podcast. And I just think we were talking about it. Maybe when you were saying about Ebert's review and saying like, I hated. I think that's why we were talking about it, because maybe he had just died or something. For some reason we were talking about that. And then he was saying, oh, you know that's a quote from the North review. And I was like, oh, I love North. And then we must have gotten onto it. But then anyway, long story, I for some reason I wanted to see if I could get the screenplay for North.
And to put this in context as well, this tweet was sent at 12:21 p.m. So I think this is like maybe like a lunchtime kind of getting a bit hungry and kind of being like, do you know what? I'm just popping for my lunch. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tweet at Alan's Wybell to find out if the North screenplay is available anywhere.
Yeah, what's even worse is that this is the time where if you put a dot before someone's at, it would show to everyone, which is what I have done. So I obviously wanted everyone to see that I was tweeting the writer of North and asking if he could make the North screenplay available. Anyway, an hour and 20 minutes later, he replied saying, I'm sure it's available somewhere online. To which I said, I've been searching and searching and searching and can't find it anywhere. Sad cry face. To which he said, try the USC Film Library. Unfortunately, it was not there.
What I love about
I wish I remembered why this had happened. Anyway, sorry.
What I love about this is in this Twitter thread, you flat out ask him, can he email it to you? And his response, I just find there's something like beautiful and sad in his response. He says, sorry, we did that movie over 20 years ago. I don't have a copy on my computer. Try Castle Rock. As in like almost like shirking responsibility of like, I've kind of any semblance of kind of having any affection for that film. It's like I burnt all the copies. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore. Do you know what? I was looking at that thread and it cut off before that point, so I didn't even remember that I'd asked him to email it to me. Fuck's sake. Yeah, no, that's just very sad. He seems like a man who's just like, I wash my hands of this movie. There is nothing like. But maybe it's not that deep. Maybe it is just like a very, very old film.
Well,
But,
he is on Cameo, so maybe I'll see how much he's charging, and I'll get him to talk about North in a Cameo
Oh my
if it's not
God.
too expensive. But yeah, his Twitter profile lists that he is a comedy writer, author, playwright, all around great guy. But his list of credits in his bio list: SNL, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and the Gary Sandling, and for Gary Shandling. So like, I guess there's things he's a bit more proud of than North, and rightfully so. But I guess I don't know. He wrote the book, right? So he must have some.
He did write the fucking book.
Yeah, he must have some affection for it. I don't know. He also has open DMs, so maybe I may try and interview him about this film.
Incredible.
Edit out any kind of slight. No, I don't think I've been disparaging to Alan Wybell at all. I think I don't know. Let's blame the other screenwriter for some of the stuff in this. I haven't read your book, Alan, if you're listening, so I don't know if the problems are down to the other writer, Andrew Scheinman, or Rob Reiner. But again, please come on my podcast, Alan. Please.
Yeah, I think for sake of that interview, it was everyone else who was responsible for the absolute abhorrent racism displayed in this film from start to finish.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, should we talk about the kind of closing act of this film and how it wraps up? So once he leaves and he kind of goes to New York, we've talked about the chase sequence of kind of goon trying to get, and that's after the fact he's been presented with a clearly doctored tape, which I have a clip of here.
After all you two have been through, what would you most like to say to your son?
We don't want Hugh.
How can you say that? He's your son.
He's not our son.
Aren't you bothered by the prospect of never seeing your son again?
Nah, that's okay.
Isn't this a gut-wrenching, torturous, emotional experience?
Not for me.
He's not our son.
We don't want Hugh.
I'm confused how how like short his attention span is that he can't see that they've just recycled like a line from each of his parents again in the exact same delivery.
Yeah,
And he must
it's
know,
very good, isn't it?
he must know if his dad has an affectation to his voice that he can't pronounce the word you and pronounces it Hugh as well.
Yeah. It's all fucking dumb. Like, it obviously dumb, but like this raises another question about the dream.
Yes.
The fact that all of this is a dream. Is North dreaming all of the scenes that he's not present for?
I'm guessing so. Yeah, I'm guessing he's dreaming the fact that in his dream there is Winchell kind of having this like weird dictatorship that he's trying to control. There is this thing that he orchestrates an interview where his parents like genuinely say, give us another chance, and they doctor it to be like he dreams about a kind of shady assassin coming to kill him in Central Park. Like, yeah, he dreams all of it. Like, I don't like the fact that he couldn't dream up culturally appropriate people to play people from certain cultures. Like, poor form, North. Poor form.
That's another reason why I think North is a piece of shit, because all of this racist stuff came from his brain.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks that Hawaiian people are ashamed of their nation, or do you know, like, everything that happens in this film, he thinks horrible. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, totally, you said it. But like, why is he dreaming? Like, he's dreaming his parents love him, and then it's edited, but then him in the dream doesn't know that it's edited. Like, I love it. I love a story. I love plot. It does take this weird turn, and I get it. Like, again, sort of dreamy, like it turns into a nightmare. It's gone too far.
Yeah, it's like that monkey.
But it is super insane. Sorry.
It's like that monkey paw situation, right? Like, be careful what you wish for, because like it will always have like a caveat to it that it won't be like the kind of, I don't know, you make the genie's wish, but someone's got to die because of it or whatever. Like, it's all got to turn on you. All the kids are going to turn on you because you've actually learnt the error of your ways, that you want to just return to your parents, who are probably, that's the thing, he doesn't factor in that like his dad's probably stressed trying to sell all these trousers and stuff like that. Like, it kind of really discounts the facts and gives a really poor message to children that like that their parents should always be unflappable and infallible, whereas like I don't know, I think like what's good about like decent films for kids is it shows you that parents can be like make mistakes and stuff like that. As a parent myself, I'm very much look towards stuff that like, I don't know, won't damage. I guess my whole thing of being a parent now is just like with everything, actions that I do, things that I show him, is like I just don't want to destroy his life. So I guess like, yeah, in the kind of media I show him, it's like showing him stuff and like the way I act and being like, hey, I can make mistakes. Whereas this film is just a terrible message for kids. And like, your parents should be great at all times. If not, threaten them with emancipation and you'll get your own way.
It's insane. And it's also like, what you'd also expect from a film like this is if they have been kind of like uncaring or whatever, they would kind of earn him back by being caring. And they don't at any point. They don't do anything. All they do is like they go to sleep for, I don't know when this starts and when Labor Day is, but like,
I think
like how long has elapsed?
The 4th of July. So I think it's like July to September. I think it's supposed to take up, because there's that whole sequence where it's like you were thingied for 7 weeks in Alaska.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
Taking taking Tessio to his death.
Yeah, that's where he went after betraying the family. What was my point? But yeah, they've just been asleep for however many weeks, like 2 months or whatever, and then they wake up. They immediately get kidnapped. Like, fine, they're trying to find him, and then they record that video. Like, again, fine, but there's nothing of them like. Well, actually, no. I've realized. I've realized what I've done. It's not real. It's not fucking real. Nothing that's happening is real. Like. I realised what I'd done. I've gone down an argument thinking any of this was happening, but it's not. Like they did do normal things. They tried ringing hospitals and they went around like usual places, like because he was missing.
Yeah.
Like, I very nearly lost a grip on reality there.
Yeah, because
I need the inception.
Obviously, in the dream, he kind of he has this like race against the clock once being delivered by Bruce Willis's FedEx driver to his front doorstep, has a confrontation with Winshaw, who's like, they're at your secret spot. The judge is there surrounded by clocks.
Judges are.
And then, like, if he's not there by midday, it's kind of sent to an orphanage, which is, again, bizarre. A bizarre set of
I love it.
circumstances.
I love the law. It's like you have to literally be in the parents' arms, both arms of both parents, otherwise it's not real, and you get sent directly to the orphanage. I had also completely forgot about how the dream sequence ends.
It's fucking harrowing, right?
It blew my mind. Like, where he's sprinting to get to his secret hiding spot, which, as we mentioned before, is like the sofa area of a department store. And he gets there, he's got 10 seconds to spare, and he's running in slow motion. His parents, George and Elaine, are running towards him in slow motion, and they jump up over a sofa. And just as they do, it's revealed that the hitman assassin has been sat there in direct view of the judge for this entire time and just pulls the fucking gun and shoots him.
Yeah. Cut to like him waking up and Bruce Willis going, "Hey kid, you need a lift? You need a ride home?
You need a lift."
And then he tells and then it does that kind of Inception thing as well on us as well. That he pulls out the coin that Gabby shot a hole through, and then we're left at the end like being like, oh, what actually happened? Like, was it yes, it was a fucking dream. We know it's a dream. So like, I don't know why that like kind of, I don't know, like talisman of like his dream is kind of seeped into the real world for some weird reason.
I want to posit an alternate theory.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's all real. It's not really an alternate theory. It's all real. And the point that he wakes up is the point of his death.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Because that's the only way it makes sense.
Yeah. In death, he gets his kind of, he gets his idealized version of his parents. Yeah.
Exactly.
Why had I not thought about it? Like,
exactly. He still has the coin. His guardian angel, like Bruce Willis is a supernatural force. That's fact throughout the entire film. He is this guardian angel helping him. And then in death, he acts like, you know, the ferryman taking him to his final resting place.
Yeah. This is
in his little car, his little car boat.
This film is basically Jacob's Ladder for kids. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is it.
We've cracked the case on this. Maybe this episode was my Watergate. Like we have really like, do you know what I mean? We are Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. Really, like we've traipsed the streets, we've knocked on doors, we've followed the money, and we figured out that North is just
North is just fucking dead, man.
Yeah,
He's just
North's dead. And this film is Jacob's Ladder for kids, and Click is just a a remake for idiots.
Is actually, I think you'll find Click is the Galaxy Brain remake of this.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe. No, yeah, I don't know. Like, that's the only way I can make it make sense of, like, unless he's always had that coin and it's for some reason makes it into his dream. Like,
Yeah,
or
I would be like, see, I've no idea, like, because the book doesn't have a Wikipedia page, which is awfully alarming. And I hope that that ending is in the book, and like there's a North devotee who's listening to this, and like I'm sure they would have switched off by now if they are listening. Be like, you fucking slandered this film. But like, who was going? The ending of the book is he's dead, and it's like, yeah.
So it's a real, like, be careful what you wish for, because you might just fucking get shot as a 9-year-old child. Or however old he is.
That's how I'm looking at this film. This film is, he's killed for the sin. He's killed for being ungrateful and being racist.
Yeah, he's in honor his parents or whatever that commandment is.
I would really be interested to know what Elijah Wood thinks of this film.
Fuck me too. It's like, what's he had before this? I guess Back to the Future 2. I know he's only in it for like a second, but he's there.
Is he in that film with Macaulay Culkin, obviously the kind of kid of the moment of the early 90s?
The Good Son.
Is the Good Son before this?
I want to say it's around the same time. Like, what blew my mind is that this is the same year as Pulp Fiction for Bruce Willis and Richie Rich for another kid who looks exactly like Richie Rich in this film.
And
I just think it's
got Richie Rich's teacher as well. Is in this film as the guy who works at the Smithsonian, who's this kind of like, I don't have his name to hand, but kind of was
Ben Stein.
Was wheeled out in the 90s to kind of just play like a guy who speaks a bit like this. I'm here to tell you about something, and like I'm supposed to be a boring guy. Like it's so yeah, The Good Son is the year before this. So he would have it never gets mentioned in interviews.
The Good Son or North?
North. I think The Good Son does, as being like, people like, that film fucking terrified me. Like, how, like, what was it like making that film, being a kid who couldn't watch it? And then I've never seen anyone interview Elijah Wood and talk about North. Maybe if or when I speak to Elijah Wood, I will.
Oh, please do.
I will be able to really crack the nut on North and find out what his views are.
What his expert take is. Is he dead? Is he alive? Is he dreaming? Tell me. I need to know.
Maybe it will be a case of like, I got to work with some really great people. A really a diplomatic answer to the fact of like, it was great to work with Rob Reiner. Like,
yeah.
It's great to hang out with Dan Aykroyd for that day, and Bruce Willis. Like,
Alan Arkin was there for a bit. That was good.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I really enjoyed Seinfeld, so having Elaine and George as my parents was fun. Yeah,
that was good.
Elijah, if you're listening, let's talk about North.
Please.
Right.
I need to know.
Should we wrap? Should we? Yeah, that feels like it on North, maybe. Right.
It's quite a short film as well. It's only like 87 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So maybe, which is a godsend.
If they'd spent a bit longer, it's one of those films where it's like, if you said, oh, spend a bit more time on it, maybe they could have like done justice to the cultures that they kind of like just really shit on.
But then you're looking at like a 3-hour film.
Yes, that is true.
I think the way of saving this is like, you just pick 3 families and you spend 20 minutes on each of them. Like, you know,
yes,
rather than
a whistle-stop tour of racism.
whistle-stop tour of racism.
Amazing. So, yeah, is there anything else we've missed that you would like to mention at all, Josh, on this film?
Product placement is only, well, it's not really a mention. I just like, because of the Happy Maddison lens that I see films through now, I'm just so attuned to when it's like, American Airlines is the best, or like FedEx. We love FedEx. It'll get you home overnight. You know, it's just very weird. And for a film that's so expensive, I mean, obviously it's going to have a load of product placement in it, but like, it just felt quite brazen. I feel like that was it. No. I think, yeah. Nothing. How about you? Anything else for you?
No, I don't think that is. I feel like this is as I said, it's there's only so much you can talk about with this film without kind of going over in a loop of kind of how problematic and like distasteful it is, and kind of it feels crazy.
I will say one more. One more. I found it. Bruce Willis pronounces Amadeus in a way that I've never heard it pronounced anywhere else by anyone. Amadeus.
Yeah, I think he's I think he's never seen that word before in his life. And by the kind of all the people involved in making a film, nobody who worked on this film did. Do you know what I mean? Like script editor, producers, like yeah. And this is
Amadeus, I guess.
This is post the kind of the film Amadeus being out, right? Which I imagine like people would have heard. Like Rob Reiner, you would have thought being like, he would have been like in the Academy at this point. I imagine.
He'd have been at the premiere.
Yeah, he would have heard that film said. Like the fact that nobody. It's the same thing with the Scarlett Johansson line. Nobody was there to kind of. It's when you fall down on those small moments that you realise that you're in for a bad time if they're not taking care of the minor details. They're not taking care of the major issues.
Yeah, exactly. They don't look after the small stuff. So, don't look after the pennies, or look after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves. You know that phrase?
Yes.
Is that real? That could be a phrase. But should have done that.
It reminds me of like that thing where bands or artists will put like a really wild like thing in their rider where it'll be like only blue M&Ms, and their justification for it is always, the reason we do that is if you're not paying attention to that kind of detail, are you paying attention to the fact that we need like a drum riser that can turn upside down? Do you know what I mean? Are we going to kill Tommy Lee? Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Or something like that. So, Josh, one of the things I like to do as we kind of wrap up the conversation on the film is ask you about some Coppola connections. Were there people who are either involved in this film or on screen who appear elsewhere working with another Coppola family member? Did you manage to find any?
Well, I guess Tessio. That's the main one. Oh, are there any others? That's Elijah Wood.
Right, I've got.
Have you got some?
I got a couple here. Yeah. So Elijah Wood is in The Trust with Nicolas Cage, 2015 crime drama, and also produced Mandy and Color Out of Space, which also star Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, nice.
John Lovitz is in Trapped in Paradise with Nicolas Cage, and is in Little Nicky, which has an appearance by Patricia Arquette, who at the time was married to Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
And then, as you mentioned, Abe Vigoda played Tessio in The Godfather, which is obviously directed by Francis Ford Coppola. And Scarlett Johansson is, of course, in Lost in Translation, directed by
Yes.
the wonderful Sofia Coppola. So, let's rate this film. And the way we do that on this podcast, Josh, is I always ask my guests, what would be the perfect wine pairing for this film? What are you pairing with North?
A baby sham and a rotten steak.
Okay, that's perfect.
How about you?
I'm going with vinegar because I think wine, when it is obviously it can age of two ways. It will get better as it kind of gets older, or it turns to vinegar. As I think that Ving Rhames, Marcellus Wallace says in Pulp Fiction, same year. And he says it to Bruce Willis as well, I think. Or
Shit!
Yeah, so I think this film has aged like a bad wine and turned to vinegar, in the fact that when I was a kid, I loved it, and now it kind of just leaves a really disgusting, bitter taste in your mouth.
Fuck. That's so much better than mine. That's so good. It's so true.
Yeah, I think that's about right. That's about right with this one, right? It kind of, I don't know. Yeah, and a baby sham and a bad steak as well, a rotten steak, would do the same thing. Leave a
Similar. It starts off all right, and then no, rancid, absolutely fucking rancid.
You got the shits for a week.
A year, a week would be joy. That'd be heaven.
I must ask you, following on from that, like, how much you paying for that wine? Is it a bottom shelf? Is it middle shelf? Or is it a top shelf wine? This baby sham. What are we looking at?
I didn't buy it. I found it on like the seat of a tube train. Do you know what I mean? Like, It was just kicking around, rolling around on the floor, half empty. It's a dreg that I've drunk. That's kind of, and that's similar to how I found the film, as in on YouTube, split into 8 parts, uploaded by an account called Quick Loosen His Pants, which is a line from the film. Like, this whole account, what I love about it as well is this whole account has been made just to host this film, and the film in its entirety has been up since 2011, and no one has ever copyright claimed it. No one wants a fucking part of this film.
Yeah, it's not like one of those ones where they've had to like speed it up slightly or flip the image to like get away with any of that. It's kind of, it's left there. And this is a film that is like surprisingly hard to get a hold of in any kind of legitimate means. Like, looking for a DVD, it was like I'd have to import it from America or get a VHS tape, and like it was just ridiculously expensive. And I was like, I'm not doing any of that to watch this film.
Like, I get it, fucking bury it, but also make it easier for podcasters to access, or for people who want to listen to the podcast and watch before or after, so they can understand all the subtle allusions to racism we're making. Do you know, like,
I guess
make it easier.
I guess
Castle
people
Rock.
have got to suffer with us and watch that 8-part YouTube series, as I'm calling it. It'll give it a bit more gravitas than it deserves.
It's truly an event. This is event cinema at its finest.
Yeah. So Netflix, who are you? We're watching North in 8 parts on YouTube, baby.
Like you said, filmed on like a 90s flip phone and like uploaded using in pre-3G internet, like fucking Edge network. It's hideous.
Somebody's being shouted at by their mum because they want to use the phone for this to be uploaded. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, you can't call your mum. I'm uploading North to the internet so that everyone can watch it. Quick, loosen his pants.
Yeah, loosen. Come on, what are you doing up there? Well, as we wrap things up, Josh, I must ask you a few more questions. And the first one being, which Coppola family member would you keep? But in doing so, you get rid of the collective filmography of the rest of the family.
I mean, this will come as no surprise, but like, I would kill every other actor in existence if it meant that we could keep Nick Cage's filmography.
Yeah,
like,
baby.
I just would. Like, I'll give up The Godfather and Apocalypse Now. I'll give up Lost in Translation. I'll give up the theme song to the OC. Like, just give me Willy's Wonderland. Just give me Con Air. Just give me like fucking, what was the one I watched here? Inconceivable. I'll take that. Like, that piece of fucking shit. Like, I will, you know, he's just such a great actor. He's just such a great actor, and also is so important to me in terms of bonding. Like, I can think of so many groups of friends that I've had over my time on this earth that have been bonded through, like, you know, going to house parties when I was like 13, 14, and we just stick on Con Air, or we'd stick on Face Off.
Yeah.
And then through lockdown last year, like, my partner and I would, when we couldn't see each other, or like, I think it was even before we were dating, we'd watch Nick Cage films over like Zoom or whatever together. And that was like a bonding, you know, like a nice, like, we'll have a chat about this. And me and my brother, like, we bond over Nick Cage films. Like, he's just so amazing. And funnily enough, just before I started recording this episode, like just before we started recording, I was watching Community. I don't know if you've watched that series. Guess what fucking episode it was?
The Nick Cage episode.
It was the Nick Cage episode.
Amazing.
Like, unplanned. I just got up to that point, and here, like, I was just watching the episode, and then it's suddenly like, oh, there's a Nick Cage class. Nick Cage got about, and I was like, you're fucking kidding me. Like, he's there.
That's beautiful that Nick Cage can bring people together. Like, there's people who follow me on social media would have seen that at the moment I've been using questions from this podcast as opening lines on dating apps just to kind of amuse myself, and
perfect.
Seem to I've toyed with the idea of making it a feature, but then I also haven't done it because it would show you how few people I match with on dating apps, and would really like knock my self-esteem, where it's like, well, this feature is 4 episodes long, getting their answers to the questions I've asked them. But, one of the ones that has been quite fruitful is the next question, and that is, what does Bill Murray say to Scarlett Johansson at the end of Lost in Translation?
I hated you in North. Or like, the line was, I really like you, or whatever the fuck it was. It's not, I very like you. Like, fuck.
Yeah, or maybe he says, I very want you. And then that's it.
Yeah, that's what he says. I very want you. And she's like, aw, little hug.
See you later. That's perfect. Both of those answers. Yeah, I hated you in North is a fantastic answer to that question. I love it, Josh. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you about this. We've probably talked about this film way more than it deserves. We've probably, I find small pleasure in sometimes being like the only podcast who's talked about a film, and I feel like I haven't done the research beforehand, but if this is the only living testament of North in podcast form, I will chisel that on my grave.
The only proof that this film exists for UK audiences.
Yeah, apart from that, apart from me, us two and Loose in Your Pants doing the fucking doing the devil's work.
The devil or the Lord's work, who knows? Who can say? Only time will tell. It's the devil. Listeners, spoilers.
So, Josh,
Oh,
where can people find you and keep up to date with what's happening with the second season of Truly Happily Maddison, and anything else you want to share with people?
Well, yeah, if people want to follow me personally, they can at PAPSBY at PAPSBY. That's at Papsby. That's on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd as well. But yeah, if you want to follow the podcast that I was talking about earlier, the Adam Sandler podcast / Future Unknown podcast, that's at True Hat Mad on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, you can find the podcast and listen to one of 52, I think, episodes about Adam Sandler's various films.
I love it.
Yeah, you can find that on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere. Truly Happily Maddison.
Amazing.
And thank you so much for having me on as well.
No worries. Well, thank you for coming and making some Coppola connections with me, Josh.
No problem. Anytime.
There we have it, guys. There's another film scratched off the list of the ever-expanding Coppola family filmography. Thank you once again to Josh Pappenheim for joining me. It was a lovely, lovely conversation about a bad film. If you've seen this film, if you love it, if you hate it, get in touch. If we missed anything, what did you think of our kind of our little hot take of a fan theory about it all being the Jacob's Ladder scenario? Don't hesitate to get in touch. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd, all at CagedInPod, or drop me an email at cagedinpod@gmail.com. That's where you can find the podcast. So, as for next week, I mentioned this last week, I will be speaking to Gianni Russo, who plays Carlo in The Godfather. Something I can't quite believe is happening. Obviously, when I started this podcast, I never thought I'd be speaking to half of the people I spoke to, whether that is the guests I'm speaking to, the people I've interviewed, and speaking to someone who actually starred in The Godfather. And I'm happy to say starred in The Godfather. He has quite a prominent role. He's quite a prominent character in the film. Without Carlo, there's certain things don't happen, and he's kind of a bit of a linchpin to the machinations and the plot of that film. So very much look forward to sharing that conversation with you next week. So at the time of recording, the time of release, so tomorrow, it's exciting stuff, guys. I'll be going to a multimedia VIP press screening of the new Nicolas Cage film, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. There's some other stuff going on with that I can't quite share just yet, because I don't know myself, and I don't want to count my chickens till they've hatched. But things could be very exciting on this podcast very soon, or they may not. I may be eating my words right now just by saying that. Obviously, probably a lot of you are probably piecing things together and trying to figure out what that could mean. But yeah, I think there's some fun times ahead on this here dear podcast. So yeah, again, a massive thanks to all of you guys who listen week in, week out, and support the podcast in any way that you do. If you thought to yourself, maybe I'd like to support the podcast a little bit more, you can do so by giving me some sweet old cold hard cash by heading over to patreon.com/CagedInPod. And what you heard just there, guys, was a segue, which, if I do say myself, was lovely. So yeah, if you'd like to pay me for that beautiful segue, you can do so on Patreon, where you get access to a exclusive podcast series called Movie Brat Bros, where we are going series by series through Francis Ford Coppola's contemporaries to see how they match up against him. So at the moment, we are looking at the films of Brian De Palma, and it's a real heady mix of films we've had so far, whether that is Phantom of the Paradise, Mission Impossible, Raising Cain. And this Thursday, you'll be able to listen to my conversation with Rich Nelson of the Do You Want Me, and formerly of the Betamax Video Club podcast, where we are talking about the 1987 Brian De Palma film, The Untouchables, an absolute stone cold classic of the genre, and a whole lot of fun was had in that conversation. So yeah, head on over there, part with your money, get involved, become a little movie brat with me and the gang over there. And if you don't want to part with your cash, you can support the podcast by heading over to Apple Podcasts, Acast, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this right now, and leave a lovely 5-star rating and review. And always remember that if you are going to rate and review the podcast, to make sure that you let me know what you think Bill Murray says to Scarlett Johansson at the end of Lost in Translation. And my favourite ones will be read out on the podcast. So, as ever, guys, I have been Petros Patsilivus, your guide through the crazy world of the Coppola family tree. Remember to keep it caged in, and I'll catch you next time.